Our next question links from the literature review. How do I structure my dissertation? Belinda, if we start with you.
Very thorny question, and one that vexes a lot of people that come to see me. It is actually picturing what the thing is going to look like. There's lots of examples in the library of former dissertations. If you just need to get a basic idea of what the components are of it, you will get some instructions from your tutor and your supervisor. They should give you guidelines as to what they're expecting you to include in that, but it's always helpful to see what's been done before. Look at your word count. It can be very tempting. I had an 8,000 word dissertation. Now, I was very, very broad in my first attempt looking at what I wanted to study. The objective of your independent study is really to demonstrate your research skills in depth. So what you need to do is look at your word count, consider how much you're going to allow for your introduction, how much you're going to allow for your conclusion, and then consider the key areas you're going to study as part of that research, and don't look for too many chapters. For an 8,000 word dissertation, the recommendation for the people I see is about 3 chapters, because you're expected to explore in depth. To go broader, it'll be very, very shallow research to fit within the word count, so you need to really contain it within a few chapters, and that in turn will ease your train of thought as well, because you can lead on from one chapter to the next, and that's another key point. Each chapter should have some point that will lead on to the next one, so there's a flow of information and a flow of thought in your critical analysis. Another point that my colleagues we were discussing beforehand, in terms of writing the introduction, you often write that at the end. You might have a broad idea of the structure that you're going to follow, but you will find that it will evolve. It's another point to say about the structure is it will evolve. You may be asked to submit a research plan which may or may not be assessed. The point of doing that is to get you thinking about how you want to structure your dissertation. It's actually a very, very useful exercise, and the ethics part of that is very useful again, because you're expected to condense what you're planning to do within that as well. So again, you're formalising your thought and you're thinking about the structure of what you're going to research. So I would suggest that really it's trying to be practical about it. You might have a very broad subject area that you need to contain within a smaller number of chapters, and just to demonstrate the depth of what you're trying to explore there. But really don't worry too much about it being set in stone. Get your plan sorted and just understand that it will evolve. You need a basic structure to work to, but it will evolve as you go on with that.
Okay. Jane, can you offer any thoughts to this side as well?
I think I'd agree with Belinda in that don't think that it's set in stone. When you start writing it, be aware that you're going to be doing a lot of editing, and you might completely change your mind about the order that it's going to go in. I tend to write my introductions at the end because I don't know what I'm going to introduce until I've written it. Don't overcomplicate things. It might seem like a huge amount of words, but it actually isn't. By the time you've taken a few words out at this end for your introduction and a few out at that end for your conclusion, you're not actually left with that much once you really get into it. So basically keep it quite simple and just write a bit at a time, and be aware that it might change in the final version.
On a really mundane level, because actually you want to be spending your time on your thesis, not on the administration of your thesis. The housekeeping should be kind of invisible. Starting off with an empty, appropriately formatted document. I know that sounds daft, but actually every school will have a slightly different way. We specify justified left and right, 1.5 line spacing, paragraph, I think it's 6 point before and 6 point after, heading styles, a particular numbering style, and so on. You might not know how to do all those things, but you can find out, and you can find it out and put it in a document and say, right, that's my formatted document. I've just got to put words in now, and then I can hand in. So not letting that rule you, as it were, so that you don't want to say, well, I've got it written all, I've just got to format it now. That's a nightmare position to be in.
In some areas, there is separate guides. For example, if you're doing qualitative data analysis as opposed to quantitative, and your independent study guide will give you those differences. And again, this is something that is quite critical right at the beginning, to get an understanding of what it is you're going to be doing, how you collect your data, how you make sense of that data. The worst thing that sometimes happens is someone collects data and then they ask the question, what shall I do with this data?
Throw it away and start again.
So, hopefully, if people have followed the process and they've engaged with the supervision process, it should be fairly clear, and each subject area will give specific guide as what's required.
This is very general, sort of not subject specific or anything, but you're looking at a piece of work, it's about 10,000 words long. And it seems incredibly daunting to sit down and write 10,000 words. What you are expected to do is split the 10,000 words across the board, across your various chapters. And where would you put the majority of your text? Well, the majority of your text would go into your primary data analysis and into your literature review, however it is structured. Your introduction really should not be all that long. I've seen introductions that ran on for 8,000 words, and I'm thinking, this isn't helping. The introduction is a promise of things to come. It may discuss briefly the limitations of the study, what it is that you're not going to be doing. But in essence, the introduction would probably be the shortest thing you write in your thesis. So if you put down about, I would say, 10 to 15% for your introduction and conclusion combined, then the rest can be split up among various sections of your dissertation. But again, don't go overboard on, let's say, literature review and produce a 7,000 word literature review, because then you have no time to actually discuss your own ideas and present your data analysis.
Do you have any opinions on that, Gareth?
I mean, again, it is about being aware of subject-specific stuff, talking to your supervisor, and then using the structure to help guide you in how you break it down into chunks so that you're not trying to do the whole thing all in one go.